body near him, but apart from him. And he thought, oh, I guess I'm dead. He wasn't upset that he was dead. Instead, he sort of felt at peace.
In an out-of-body experience, Tony watches a passerby rush to his aid.
The body landed right next to a woman who happened to be a nurse who was waiting to use the phone. That nurse immediately began performing CPR on him.
Miraculously, she brings Tony back to life.
Lightning strikes can be deadly, so it's not unreasonable to think he might have died without her assistance.
Although technically dead just minutes earlier, Tony now feels fine. He even declines all further help.
Well, he refused to go to the hospital. It's not totally clear to me why. I think maybe he figured, well, you're hit with lightning, you're either dead or you're alive. He happened to be alive. Or maybe he just didn't want to go to the emergency room. He'd been through enough.
Amazingly, it appears Tony has suffered no ill effects from the lightning strike. And for a time, his life seems to return to normal.
He saw his cardiologist when he went home, and his heart actually checked out fine.
But soon after, Tony becomes aware of a peculiar change within.
Dr. Cicoria developed an incredible passion for music. Instead of the old rock that he preferred, he suddenly needed to hear piano music, classical piano music.
A former football player, Tony has never listened to classical music before in his life. Now, his head is filled with it.
We ran out to the store and bought CDs. And he bought this one CD of this pianist playing Chopin, and he played it on his way to work, on his way home from work, and then over and over and over again.
Soon, just listening to music isn't enough. Tony has an overpowering desire to play it. He borrows a friend's piano.
So we bought the sheet music for every piece on that CD, and he starts practicing.
Learning the piano becomes an obsession.
And he practices 4 to 6 hours a day. He gets up in the morning at 4 o'clock and plays for a couple hours. He gets home, the kids go to bed, he plays. Again, he practices by himself. The adult brain does not learn these complex musical skills very well, and he was 42 at the time.
Tony's obsession then takes another turn. Not only can he play music, he discovers he can write it.
He had a dream in which he was playing a piece. And when he woke up, the piece was still in his mind, and he realized this piece had never been played before. This is his own music. He decided he was going to write it down and compose that piece of music that came to him in his dream.
From having no musical skills at all, Tony is now creating entire symphonies, almost at will. Then, just a few years after his accident, Tony is given the chance to perform in public.
In 2002, Dr. Cicoria debuted his newfound interest in piano in front of an audience. He must have been really nervous, but excited, and he played with great emotion. It got great reviews.
It's an achievement that still mystifies both scientists and music critics alike.
Becoming a professional pianist is incredibly difficult. The idea that people would come and listen to someone who, by all rights, should be an amateur is remarkable.
You know, this story is truly amazing, even miraculous. One day, you're just a normal guy, and then, boom, everything changes. Where did Tony's extraordinary talent suddenly come from? Surely the lightning had something to do with it. In fact, many survivors of lightning strikes claim remarkable changes in their lives occur after the event. I want to see if they're right. Now, don't try this at home. Funny, except for a need to lift my leg, I don't feel any different. Where did Tony Sikoria's extraordinary talent come from? Can lightning turn someone into a musical genius? Phyllis Atwater has been researching near-death experiences for over 30 years. She thinks Sikoria's newfound musical talent was triggered by his brush with death.
A near-death experience is an intense awareness, sense, or experience of otherworldliness that happens at the edge of death that profoundly changes the individual afterward.
But how can Atwater be so sure? First-hand experience.
I died 3 times in 1977 in 3 months. Death number 1 was January the 2nd. It was extreme hemorrhaging and a miscarriage. Death number 2 was 2 days later. Major thrombosis in the right thigh vein, which dislodged, followed by the worst case of phlebitis the specialist had ever heard of, let alone seen. 3 months later, they're not really sure what killed me. They thought maybe it might have been heart attacks. I reached this realm where we in research call the realm of all-knowing, where all of the puzzle pieces of life are revealed, all of your questions are answered. Let me just say that, yes, it changed my life.
Atwater believes these changes are not just psychological.
Near-death experiences are very powerful. So powerful that they tend to change the individual in specific ways. Often your personality will alter or differ. The way you speak will change. There are physiological changes in the body afterward. We don't hear much about those. We hear about the psychological ones, that you don't fear death anymore, that you can come back more service-oriented, more loving, more caring. We don't hear about the physiological ones, and those are profound. It changes the body clock with most people, changes brain dominance with most people, changes brain structure and function with most people. There's a pattern of changes in the nervous system, the digestive system, and skin sensitivity.
Did a lightning strike turn Tony Sikoria into a musical virtuoso?
It opens up the creative doors. You are inspired, and you want to create things, you want to do things. It's almost as if you are suddenly kissed by the muses.
A bolt of lightning turns a man into a musical genius. Does a near-death experience account for his talent? Spiritualist Dr. Susan Shumsky doesn't see it that way.
There's no such thing as having a talent given to you out of the blue.
Shumsky believes Tony's newfound skills came from his very distant past.
You know, there's a lot of things that make a lot of sense when you believe in reincarnation. Tony had a dream that he described. Him on stage playing his own musical composition as a pianist. That was not a dream. That was a past life memory.
How was Tony able to recall a memory from a previous life?
We develop many skills through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime as we reincarnate. The mind stores all of our memories, not only from this life, but from all previous lifetimes. And we can tap into that storehouse, and we can develop talents and abilities that we have developed in past lives.
Shumsky's convinced the lightning strike allowed Tony's brain to access more than just memories, but past life skills as well.
Tony was a composer and a musician in his past lives. When Tony had his bolt of lightning, I believe that this lit up parts of his brain. This awakened something in himself that he already had. His natural ability started to come out. The skills of music, composition, playing a piano, that he had been that in a past life.
Shumsky says the bolt out of the blue steered Tony towards his true destiny.
Tony says that he's a different person, But I believe that now Tony is more himself than he's ever been.
Do we all have former lives very different from our own? And can we harness past life skills and use them in the present? Neuroscientist Dr. Brent Harris agrees something profound happened to Tony Cicoria. But he doesn't think it had anything to do with reincarnation.
When the brain gets shocked by a lightning strike, it's impossible to know exactly what's going to happen because it can have a severe effect that causes massive damage to the brain, or it can be actually fairly mild and cause no noticeable damage.
However, in Tony's case, Dr. Harris believes the lightning literally rewired his brain.
An incident like this is 1 in a million. It's possible that the lightning strike that affected Dr. Cicoria's brain altered his frontal lobe neurocircuitry, releasing him to follow a newfound talent in music.
How is this possible? And why music?
The frontal lobe helps to control creativity and our ability to make decisions about, whether we want to be creative or not. And so when changes happen in the frontal lobe, we become less inhibited. The neural circuitry may have become changed to reawaken innate ability in him, or an ability that developed during childhood that had been somewhat repressed for most of his life.
But if Tony's brain was rewired, why didn't his new musical abilities begin immediately?
I think that probably relates to some recovery time after the lightning strike, and the intense training that he started doing again immediately during that time period to re-energize those specific areas of the brain that were important in music.
Did Tony's brain get rewired by a lightning bolt? Do near-death experiences alter the way we think and act? Or can skills from our past lives be transferred to the present? Whatever the answer, Tony's story is weird. Or what?